Oops, something went wrong. Oh. And we're back. Again, YouTube hasn't kicked us off yet. I don't know how. But as you can all see, we have a very special guest tonight. Again, we have the Todd Hutchings. What's going on, man? Oh, God. Oh, God.
Ready for Las Vegas.
Yeah. How you feeling for that? Yeah. Did you get banged up on with the regionals at all, or you feel pretty good?
No, the regionals, me and Storm actually talked. It was really all my wins were fast, all my losses was fast. We came home from regionals was just easier than a practice. I really didn't get a lot of stress there.
Well, that's good. That's good, especially when you have to go back so soon to try to compete again. You know, that's good.
Yeah, a lot of people asking a lot of questions about that because it was. No, you guys probably didn't see the live feed, but it was touch and go. But we got to see a lot of your matches, but not all of them. But it seemed like they had it together much better at the Northern Regionals than they did at the Southern Regionals. Did you watch both videos?
I haven't watched any of them, so I don't know. I got people that watch videos for me, and then they tell me whether I look like a fool or whether I shouldn't change nothing. So.
You got people coaching you from the sidelines there?
I got people coaching me from other countries, like the squiggly lines come over the internet, and they say, I go, Freed's mad.
So you're a big fan, it seems like, over the years of coaches. Like, it seems, I remember back before you stopped pulling, you always talked about Chad Silvers being like, you're like, dude, I'm strong, but if Chad's not there, I'm not the same guy. Do you still have that same thought process, or is it a little different?
I still have coaches. I've got, I was very, very fortunate for all the advice and the training South Carolina gave me. And I mean, Chad Silvers is a big part of it, but Kevin Hicklin was down there, Matt Harris was down there, Fritz Corey, Alex Jagalko. I mean, I had a very supportive team in South Carolina. Every time I moved, I've developed other coaches, and I still got people who keep in touch with me from all over the place. So, I mean, I still get Bob Brown from Utah still calls me, Justin Green, Jordan Sill, John Brezink, he's in Arizona now. I still get feedback from all over the world, and I appreciate it. I mean, a lot of people ask me to help coach them, but when I'm competing, I'm looking for the guy who sees stuff I can't see.
Sure. And I was going to ask that too, because it seems like every few years you relocate in some form. Has that been a hindrance, do you think, on your training, or a benefit? I can see both sides of it. Like, maybe you don't get really acclimated to who you're pulling.
It's been a hindrance. I've been a fool because I've done it purposely to try and travel the country and train as many different camps as I can. So if it's a hindrance, then I'm a fool. Okay.
So that Dave Shea, I don't know if you met him, but he wanted me to ask you, and it kind of follows what you're saying. Do you feel that the table time or the exercises that you often show people on the videos they do are more beneficial?
Now, Dave Shea knows he doesn't have to ask you to ask me because he's been here, and I told him this.
Come on, Dave.
Now, it probably depends where you're at in your career, and it probably depends where you're at and what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay? And I've had, drop-down arguments with people over table time versus training. And I think over the years, my perspective has changed because I used to train on the table twice a week. Now I train on the table once a month. Okay? And it shifted. When I was doing twice a week, I swore that was the only way to do it. But then again, that was the only way I've ever done it. Okay? And in all honesty, if I had a substantial team around here, I'd probably do it twice a week. But it forces me to moderate the other training aspects of it. At this point, I'm not trying to learn a whole lot of new arm wrestling techniques, that kind of stuff, right? I mean, I'm no longer trying to be excellent in arm wrestling. I'm just trying to get victory. So I'm not trying to hone the craft all over the place. I'm just trying to learn a trick or two or how to get by with something that's not going to be caught just to win another trophy. So I need a lot of table time. What I need is a whole lot of advice and a little time to practice it. But beginners starting out, I coach them I coach them table time all the time. I tell them instead of actually going to a tournament, you're better off traveling to another state and attending somebody else's practice, where not only do you get unlimited table time, but you get feedback and the ability to do over and try a couple of different things.
That's interesting.
I think when I think of you and I watch your arm wrestling, I'm reminded of Lord Nelson, who used to be an admiral in the British Royal Navy. He had an expression. He said, "To hell with maneuvers, just go straight at them." And a lot of times when I see you come to the table, that's the attitude I see in you, where you're just ready to go and you don't care what side of the table you have. You just want to lock up and have someone say go. And I think that that's impressive because, a lot of people fight back and forth for position. Mike Solaris, that match he had with you, and he took like 5.5 minutes before someone finally said go, and then it was a 2-second match.
It only took 5.5 minutes because I had a good lawyer. Now, it would have gone for hours if I wasn't well litigated.
Now, that's interesting, bringing up basically, you know how to arm wrestle, you just want to get stronger. And I've noticed from seeing some of Allison's videos that she puts up of you that you have a lot of speed days, max effort days. It's kind of broken up in certain categories like that. I know that in powerlifting as like the Westside Barbell method. Have you studied certain things like powerlifting and tried to add them into your training into arm wrestling?
My entire training mechanism since South Carolina is based on Westside Barbell. I was so fortunate when I moved to South Carolina, I joined a gym. I joined the South Carolina Barbell Club in Columbus, South Carolina, and it was run by a world-level powerlifter, Mark Bartley. He introduced me to the Westside Barbell system, and because he kind of saw what I was doing, because not too many people go to the whatever you call that machine where you sit down and you pull the rowing machine. Not too many people kneel at it and do it sideways. So he came up and he goes, "What you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm an arm wrestler." And he goes, "Oh." And he took an interest in it, and we talked grip strength, wrist strength, that kind of stuff, which is ironic considering I've got the weakest hands and wrists in my sport.
Oh, Todd, don't.
But we went back and forth on that, and then he introduced me to the Westside Barbell system. So then I studied it, I tried everything like that, and now I live in Ohio, where the Westside Barbell is.
Right.
But I've actually emailed and called that gym a couple of different times. And I've talked to Louis Simmons once, but I've emailed and talked to his wife multiple times. I mean, that was, and I was just starting out at the time. So that was phenomenal to get that kind of advice and almost support from somebody who, to me, was like a superhero, And it transformed my ability to train because at the time, we're all listening to what the current elite arm wrestlers were doing.
Sure.
Right? And John Brzezinski he's a bad man then, he's a bad man now. But, I'm trying to start out in the sport. I'm 35 years old. I go, man, if I do what he's doing, it's going to take 20 years for me to catch up to where he is now. I don't need to do that. I need to get on the express lane and try to get up there quicker than he is, Mm-hmm. So, and the whole Westside Barbell system is based on measuring how strong you are, get stronger all the time, and if you're not getting stronger, change something to get stronger.
Right. It's basically, it's actually called the conjugate method, where it's basically continually varying what you're doing to never really truly adapt. And it also somewhat, goes against any idea of overtraining. Like the idea that, listen, once you start doing stuff, you can just keep going and going and going and going. You can keep...
I've had that overtraining argument so many times in my life.
This is going to be fun.
And I'm always on the side. I go, I don't think you can overtrain.
Me too.
Or, I think you can train him properly,
right,
but I'm not so sure you can overtrain. And when you're starting out, and when you start now, when I first started out, all I wanted to win was a state championship. I wanted to win the Michigan State Championship. But then when I started to get invited to go overseas and stuff, then I'm going, oh, these guys are like true professionals. So then I started thinking, how would you train if arm wrestling is a real sport and you're a professional, how would you train? I mean, that's all you would train was arm wrestling, right? Football players train every day. Baseball players train every day. Runners run all the time. I'm going, I really don't think you can train too much. I think you can train wrong, but not too much. Now having a job and kids and what, I mean, maybe you run out of time to sleep and recover and stuff.
Right.
But I've always bought into the fact that, you know what, if I'm watching television, I could be training.
Yeah, and I've soreness, stops a lot of arm wrestlers from progressing also. But really, I've always thought of like pain and soreness, like it should be controlled, obviously. But if you're not really super surprised that you're sore, then I don't really understand what you're so worried about. Like you're all right. You're not gonna die. It's not gonna kill you. You're fine.
When you started out, you was wicked sore. Had a toothache that went from your shoulder to your wrist. That you got the strongest, fastest. Yeah. You should be scared that after a couple of years you're no longer sore, because I'm thinking maybe you're not training hard enough. All right. Yeah. I love waking up and going, oh, that hurts. We grew up in Michigan, and when I was first getting into arm wrestling, there's a running back for the Detroit Lions, Barry Sanders, and he was famous in Detroit, and they interviewed him on the radio, and they said it took him like an hour to get out of bed and downstairs because he was so beat up. Mm-hmm. But his job was running that ball, and I don't know crap about football.
You can say you can swear if you want. It's okay.
What else I know is if your job is running that football down the field, and he's being paid, and if it takes him 2 hours to get from his bed to the kitchen table, if I can jump out of bed and go to work, I'm not training my sport hard enough.
Right. Yeah, I remember you saying in an interview, I think it was with Gary Roberts, power lifters blow their eyeballs out squatting 1,000 pounds. If you're not doing that as an arm wrestler, you're not strong enough yet. It's an interesting.
Mark Bartley would do that. He'd come back from a meet, and both his eyes would be shot, and he would be out of it for like a whole week after a meet, and it was like I never did that arm wrestling. I mean, I've been hurt a couple of times arm wrestling, but back then I've never been able to apply that much force into something. But then again, when you're arm wrestling, you can't apply more force than what your opponent can match.
Sure.
But when you're bench press, if your max bench press or if your max squat's 900 pounds and there's 980 on the bar, you're going to put out every little bit you can. But if my opponent can only do 100-pound side pressure, I can't apply more than 100 to that because it's just, minus the acceleration factor, so maybe 110, that kind of stuff. But it's...
Yeah. And if you put a Volkswagen Bug on my back, my eyes will probably blow out too, so...
Well, Adam, because if it takes 100 pounds to blow your eyeballs out and you can't apply it, you still can't do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Adam Barup sent in a question that fits in with this part of the conversation. Basically,
oops.
Do you think do you continue to get stronger as you get older? Do you think you've reached your peak, or do you feel like you're still improving in terms of overall strength?
I still get stronger, but I get a little bit stronger, and it takes a long time. I'm on the conjugate method. I got 12 to 20-some max effort exercises, and it takes me a month or so to cycle back to them. And I do not get a new PR every single time. I will sometime, if I get a new PR when I'm training, I circle it and I exclamate it. But I got a chart that goes back years. And sometimes I can't even hit, it takes like 7 to 8 weeks before I cycle back to an exercise. And I sometimes can't even hit what I did that month. Mm-hmm. Because sleep schedules change, who you practice with, what you did. You're constantly varying stuff. You're constantly looking. But I bump up a max effort, a personal record, often enough to know it's still working.
Sure.
Now, I don't, and this is something that the Westside, that Columbia, South Carolina Barbell showed me, because they had these, for the squat racks, they had these little 2-pound magnetic weights they would put on. And these are people squatting 800, 900, 1,000 pounds. They could put a 2-pound weight on each side. So that's 5 pounds out of 900. I mean, that's infinitesimal. Well,
right.
I'm dealing with my arms, right? I don't, I'm dealing with 100 pounds, 140 pounds.
Right.
So
5 pounds
to try
is a lot.
to add 1 pound to 140 pounds is really hard. And it's really hard when it's 4:30 in the morning and you're there by yourself. So you sometimes cheat. You give it to yourself if you didn't, So unless I substantially push a number up, I don't write it down. And sometimes, I'll write down, if I make an attempt, I'll fail at a lift like 3 times. I'll put 3 X's on it before I quit. But if I make it and I'm not sure, I put a question mark at it, and then I'll try it again the next time. So I am aware that I'm trying very, very hard to get stronger, but I'm also aware I might lie to myself just to think I'm getting stronger. So it's, to keep myself honest. But in about every 2 to 3 months, there's no freaking doubt in my mind I've actually lifted more weights, where I've actually moved another 10 pounds out of 100,
Yeah,
but it's like 3 or 4 months in between those moments.
And let me ask you too, like when you're working really hard, like when you're training super hard, it's almost inconceivable to be at 100% all the time. So is there, like, if you're kind of dipped down a little bit, like say you're kind of planning on being at 90-ish% just because you're training so hard, you're so beat up, and you're really performing at like 95, that's almost good too. Like, I think the idea that you should always be so fresh as to be able to train as hard as possible at your best, I don't think there's any way if you're really training it as hard as you can.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks, when they say 90, 95%, a lot of people think that's their max effort lift. If I can be beat up, ground down, sore, but if I've got enough time to warm up and try, I can probably almost always hit my last lift. But what really when I'm preparing for a tournament, because winning a tournament is completely different than just winning the 6 matches it takes to win a freaking tournament. You want to win a 32-man bracket, well, you need to beat 6 people, 7 people, something like that. Okay. But a freaking tournament takes like 12 hours. So you got to be up for 12 hours. It's that grinding part that most people, at least when I'm saying I feel like I'm 80, 90, 95%, it's just that long grinding stuff. So I got special days that Louis Simmons doesn't talk about in the Westside Barbell system, and it's just about being bored, gritting your teeth, grinding it out, that kind of stuff. And those days go down way more often than my max effort days, because to hit a max effort day is always less than an hour. But if you go into your, not your gym, because gyms don't build arm wrestlers, they build debutantes. But if you go into your shop and you say, I'm just going to grind it out for an hour, and you actually add more weight, that is just freaking painful, because your body wants to resist all that. You go, I got a cough, or I'm not, or my head hurts, or I'm limping. Your body finds ways to prevent you from going there, because he knows you're gonna beat the daylights out of it. But if you force your body to go through that, then you're in a tournament. Then it's not so bad, because that grind in the tournament is really not so bad. All you got to do is deal with the fact that you got to pee every 8 minutes, and you have no idea what they're going to call you up to the table.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, Alberta Arm Wrestling up in Canada sent in some stuff here. I'm not sure exactly. I'm going to tell you what the
whole Alberta
team got together. They got together, and this is the one question they came up with, which is
it better be good with this many votes.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's an interesting question, but I'm not sure how exactly you measure this. But have you noticed your bones and tendons thickening since you started pulling? I mean, I guess that is a question about arm architecture in general, and how whether or not you notice changes like that. I mean, it's difficult to track your bone thickness, but I don't know. Have you noticed anything like that?
I don't know. I pay attention to it, but I had a weird it was weird for me because I was new, but I had a weird meeting with Alan Fisher years ago when I was like in my first or second year of South Carolina. And we all flew out to California to film, to recap and make some movie out of one of the arm wrestling. It was John Bergeson's arm wrestling league at the time. Anyways, we're out there filming it, and I got some time. This was when I'd first met John Brzenk, because he was there. Kevin Hicklin from South Carolina was there, and Alan Fisher were there, and we're all like making the behind the scenes video. So I'm arm wrestling Alan Fisher, and that was the first time I actually met anybody who thought that much about arm wrestling. Because at the time, you're basically holding hands and pushing, to me, as far as I'm concerned. But Alan's got this whole scientific thing about it. But when I gripped my hand, he actually started, he said, John, look at this. And I'm, and that was the first time I noticed. I go, well, I don't know. I thought everybody's arms looked like that. So when he said that my tendons look big, and he might just have been being nice, or or I might just be misrepresenting the story to make me look good in it too. I'm not saying that.
This story's gone so downhill.
Yeah. So now I look at that, but I got to thinking, and I don't know if this is true, and I don't know if this works. And I'm not telling y'all to do it. I'm just telling you what I do is after the championships, when I got a lot of downtime, I push my weight up as high as I can. Because when you gain weight, you're going to put that weight in muscle, fat, bone, and tendon. Everything's going to grow. Thinking I can probably cut the fat out with all the new diet fads, that kind of stuff. So I try to get as heavy as I can in the off season and try and slim down and get lean when it's time to compete, hoping I'm storing most of that stuff in bone and tendon. Because a lot of the people overseas, they come from 165, they shoot up to 205 or something like that. They're big everywhere else, but their fingers aren't long, their wrists don't get big, they're just big, they're just poofy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a 200-pound hot dog wrapped in 90 pounds of bun, right? They're just not, they look pretty, but they don't have that big stuff unless they get really freaky where they got that stomach that sticks way out and they got like 2% body fat, but then their fingers are all twisted and pointed in different directions and they're all gorilla looking,
Do you think holding that little bit of extra weight helps prevent injury too?
I think being way stronger than everybody prevents injury. So I don't know I think weight is strength, and I think the stronger you are, the more protected you are against injury. Unless you pull somebody who's way heavier and way stronger than you are, whose name rhymes with Rave Dafey, and he pulls your bicep out of your arm and makes you get surgery.
Oh boy. Yeah, so let's talk about that. You had a pretty bad bicep injury a few years ago. And really, I remember you saying right after you got hurt on video, my whole claim to fame was I never got hurt. And then I just got hurt. So, I
got hurt on the good side, too.
Right, exactly. So, what was the recovery time on that? How do you feel it affects you today, if at all?
I got hurt in December, and my first tournament was in August. It was when the UAL took over for, I forgot, some other league was supposed to give out $100,000 and a pickup truck and all this other stuff. It fell apart. The UAL was just starting out. I don't think I was under UAL contract at the time. I think it was right before the UAL signed us all up. But that was in August. So I went from December having my bicep tore apart, and then I competed at the UAL in August. I had to grind it out against Alan Ford because he was wicked fast and he pulled me way out. But I pulled that tall Nanostad dude from England. I got Chris Chandler smoked me. Tom Nelson smoked me. That was just rough. And that was when you're talking about feeling 90, 95%, I felt wicked strong. But that tournament just was grueling. It was like 9 miles of bad road. It was just, I couldn't get through it. It was hard to keep coming up. That just pulled me down,
Yeah,
but,
and you pulled 2 classes, Todd.
Yeah, but I only won one of them.
Only.
So do you feel like that injury affects you all today or no?
My right arm is still 20% stronger than my left. And I measure that, and that's consistent. I mean, max lift, volume, that kind of stuff. What I do is I train my right as hard as I can, and I let my left arm fall behind. Well, a max effort day, my right arm is always pulling easily, like I said, 10 to 20% more than my left. But when I was talking to the surgeon, you know, because he cut me right there, and he says, "This is what we're going to do. We're going to drill a hole. We're going to blah blah." I go, "Doc, man, can you just move that down an inch?" He goes, well, "Why do you want to do that?" I go, "I arm wrestle, that kind of stuff." He goes, "It'll affect your range." I go, "Well, I don't need it any straighter than this. You just pull that tendon down right there." He goes, "See what I can do." I go, "Seriously?" He goes, "Yeah, no problem." And I go, "You know what? This WAL thing takes off, man. I'm going to get elective surgery, man. You're going to have something tied here." I'm going to look like one of those motorcycles that the Orange County Choppers guys build, man. I'll have a big hole right here.
Yeah. Of course, the engineer is telling the surgeon how to fix his arm.
Hell, take this shit on the back of my leg, man. Tie it to my neck, to my wrist.
Exactly, yeah.
Because it's probably reversible. All I need to do that is for until Travis stops competing and I got more hammers than him, and then I'll quit. I'll just have it reversed.
So, speaking of the 95% and the percentages in general, Herman Stevens is checking in. He usually checks in. First of all, he wants to say hi, and that he expects that you're going to open up the bowels of side pressure hell at the finals. But he does, he's curious about whether you modulate your output at things like regionals, knowing that the prize is smaller and you're going to qualify anyway, versus, committing everything that you have at the finals where 10 or 20 grand is on the line.
Well, I got hurt at the regionals last year. Mm-hmm. So, and I screwed up. I'm just checking my phone. I'm not being rude, but I'm looking for a picture. But
oh, man.
I went to region. You go in with a plan, all right? And John Brzezink's the one guy who actually knows how to win a freaking tournament, all right? Versus just knowing how to be the best arm wrestler. But when it's to the point now, you really can't sacrifice the big money for ego. Right. But so I went in going, yeah, first place is $2,000. The championship's worth 10. So first, don't get hurt. Absolutely, positively, don't mess up the championship. Now, I went to regionals, and we're going to talk about reffing, and we're going to talk about steroids, we're going to talk about weigh-ins and everything else that people bitch about arm wrestling tournaments, okay? But the one thing that, let me find that picture. It's really hard you got to keep everything into perspective. And there it is. I don't know if y'all can see that, but
yep.
That's
nasty.
That's what my left arm looked like when I went to the championships, you know.
That's nasty.
I could pull back, but I couldn't go sideways. So that taught me a lesson, you know. What you really want, you don't so much want to be undefeated, you just want to be the champion at the end of it. So, yeah, I went to regionals going, look, I just need 12th place. I just need to continue on. But if you're going, you don't want to lose and you want to try things, that kind of stuff. So I'd like to say I modulate my output because I'm smarter than everybody else, and that's really what I want to do. But when it's up there and someone's in your face and you smell their breath and they're spitting on you and stuff, no, sometimes you just want to grab a hold of them and smash. You know?
All right, let me bring this up then, because I can't tell you how many questions we got about you and RVJ. I'm going to use the one from Ryan Bowen in Australia because he asked first. He basically, watching those two matches with you guys right-handed, it seems like they went down the same way. And he's curious if you're going to try something different or if you're comfortable with your strategy against him or just your thoughts in general about that upcoming match in the finals.
So I lost 2 matches in a row. Looked like a fool, and he wants to know if I'm going to change something? I mean, I love those people in Australia, but, damn, we invented space travel for crying out loud. I am not going to lose 2 more matches that way. You tell Brian I plan to lose the next 2 matches in a completely different way.
That's a good answer.
Will do. But what about, all right, So I'm just gonna. This other guy, Les Both, is asking about the side pressure, which is obviously what you're famous for. And is that something that you always use, or are there situations where you're hesitant to use it? I mean, you spoke about that one injury you got, and obviously we just saw your arm. But do you think that in general, for people, side pressure leads to more injuries?
No, I don't think side pressure leads to more injuries. I think bad position leads to more injuries. I think side pressure should be plan B. Plan A should be offensive, try and be sweet and pretty and delicate, try and be Travis and Devin and some kind of gorgeous little fawn bouncing through the woods with your big brown eyes and your big high roll, right? But if that don't work, plan B should be don't lose. Don't lose is just side pressure, okay? Keep your hand off the pin pad, okay? If you don't lose long enough, you might have a chance to win, okay? So I fully support the delicate little genius ballerina type elegant stuff, which everybody hates to see.
That sounds
but
manly.
If that's not working, then just grind it out and don't lose because the money's too big and you don't get a do-over.
Fair enough. Do you do a lot of heavy wrist curls? This is a question from Austin Slater online.
I am trying to. I am desperately trying to develop a top roll. Now, I top roll better than I used to. I still top roll bad. But I do a lot of wrist curl, not so much heavy. I do a lot of wrist curl volume. All right. I train a lot of I forgot what the name of it is. My favorite handle I copied from Bob Brown, who copied from Mazurenko. I think it might be called the wrist wrench, where the got the pipe and it wraps around. Mm-hmm. So all my side pressure, all my dragging work is done with that, which just forces that cupping part. But actual straight up powerlifting or bodybuilding wrist curling, I don't do a lot of that. And I don't do a lot of wrist curling, strict on wrist curling. I do a lot of the most I can weight isometric type pulling back. But nobody's going to take hand and wrist curl freaking training, advice from me because I'll pull like that. So.
We'll wait till they call you Top Rollzilla, then we'll ask you again.
Well, it's called a Todd Roll, and it looks like a top roll. It's just applied at glacial speed, right? You got to have time-lapse photography to see it, I mean, they go to commercial break in between the time I initiate it and I finish it, So, and if I get it, you'll know because I'll be dancing around and kissing people and stuff because I'm so happy that I top rolled somebody.
Oh my God! I wish I had that on video, man. That's awesome. Oh, we do have it.
We
on
do.
Video. That's very convenient.
Josh,
I hope so. Watch it on your YouTube channel.
It was a bad joke. I'm going to move on from that now. So Tomas, who we had on the show last week from Chile, he's got a small team out there that they're starting to develop. He's doing well, but he's trying to recruit team members and stuff. And so he's getting a lot of questions from people down there. And in the same vein, he's questioning about hook and if you have exercises that you recommend specifically to develop it.
The pulling inside, I mean, everybody already knows pulling inside, shoulder driven, just trying to keep it like here. More often than not, the trouble is getting into a hook, with somebody who flat doesn't want to be hooked. And if your opponent doesn't want to be hooked and they're taller than you, I don't know how to tell them how to get into it. Now, there's Russians who can do it. The Zoliev brothers can throw people into hook. Babayev and his brother, they can throw people into hook who know they're going to hook and they don't want to be.
Right.
I'm not the kind of guy. I'm not the guy that can tell you how to do that. Hell, I can't even tell you how to slip when everybody in the whole room knows I'm trying to slip off. So, I have people who coach me on technique. Okay, if you truly want technique advice from me, hit up my wife on Facebook and she will give you my list of coaches. Okay.
Fair enough.
I'm a rage puller, okay? Right. I'm blind. I just close my eyes, bite my tongue, and I just want to grind, okay? I don't, this all this delicate voodoo stuff, that's not me.
I'm sorry, guys. You can't teach anger.
Yeah. I don't want to litigate and win. I want everybody to know, when the freaking blood's pouring out of my eyes, that I really put my heart into it, All
right, so as a rage puller, do you use different types of anger for your left and right arm?
Yes, because my right arm cannot be hurt. Well, it can be hurt once, and now it's better and stronger than it's ever been. And since it will never, ever pull another super heavyweight, my right arm is unbreakable. Okay. My left arm is kind of slow, so I got to kind of make sure it's like pointed in the right direction. My right arm, you know what? I can be looking over here. It's all built in. It's got artificial intelligence. I don't even need to control it. I could enter my right arm. I could go back to the hotel. My right arm would still make it to the quarterfinals. I just have to show up with my left arm to open the door to get the trophy out. My left arm, I got to kind of watch because it sometimes falls asleep. It's not really paying attention.
Walking to traffic.
Yeah, it's like the dog you get from the pound where you don't know its history. Right. Whereas this is the dog I bought from a registered breeder, so I know exactly what it's going to do.
Well, your left arm.
It's like a fool at regionals, so don't throw that in my face. I understand. I lost 2 matches. Okay.
I was literally just about to throw that in your face, and now I can't. So you wrecked it for me.
Thanks, Todd.
That's all right.
Maybe I should have the show, and you should be here, standing next to Al.
We'll just leave. You keep going. We're gonna go get a coffee. So that question was from Jamie, by the way. He's been begging me to ask it, so I asked it. So all right. Let's talk about some of the other stuff you brought up with the steroids and the starts and the rules and all that WAL stuff that people definitely do like to complain about online. What do you think about what the WAL is offering in all those areas compared to, WAF stuff or PAL or what have you?
I got into the PAL, because I was friends with John and Travis at the time, and they were both paid superstars at the time. I never made that kind of money with them. PAL's always been nice to me. I don't have an issue with it. My highest paid year of arm wrestling ever was due to the PAL. They put me into the Zloty, they put me into a couple of vendettas, they took me to Bulgaria. I think my gross winnings one year was like 9.5. Okay, the most money I've ever made in a year. I do not have a problem with the PAL. The superstars that brought me to the PAL, run them down. I love Travis. I love John. I'm not in all that, but I was never at their level. I don't know. I am perfectly happy with the PAL does. If the WAL folded tomorrow, I'd jump right over to them. I don't have an issue with the PAL. I love the WAL. The WAL's paid me more money than ever. I'm probably the most prolific WAL puller they have. I think I've won more prize money from them than from any other competitor out there because I won a bunch of the regionals and a bunch of the championships. So I'm extremely happy with the WAL. It's just all these leagues tend to go through the same arc, right? They start off with pro men, huge money, big hoopla, and then all of a sudden they're adding weight classes, they're adding women, they're adding amateurs, they're shrinking the prize money, they're having less events. Typically, I've been through a lot of these arm wrestling leagues starting up and ending. It's like a 3 to 4 year half-life. Now, the PAL's been around for a lot. It was Zloty, then it was Nemiroff, now maybe it's Zloty again, now maybe it's Vendetta. So they've got some longevity there. Maybe 5-10 grand a year winnings is what you expect. But what the WL's done, I love the effort. I love what they're doing. Too many of the complaints about arm wrestling leagues is because an arm wrestling league, a competitive league, or any sports league is not designed to make the athletes happy. It's designed to make money and attract consumers. Too many arm wrestling leagues are launched by competitors, so they do all this crappy 50 freaking weight classes, paid at 900 places to make the competitors happy. It's not a athlete or gamesman or whatever Christian Biddy calls arm wrestling when he says sport. Whatever that, it's not geared to satisfy us. It's a business model. So, yes, I wish the rules would kind of be stable. I wish the table would just be stable. I wish, all that stuff. But, the WL's treating me fine. I'm more than happy for it. I wouldn't change anything about it. I just wish it was, actually, I'm just happy with it,
Yeah, it seems like the only thing that a lot of people are unhappy about with who are, involved with it or just seeing what's happening is, like you said, you can kind of see you can see it coming. You can kind of see what's coming because we've seen it happen already. It seems like everybody's falling into the same pitfalls as before. And yeah, that's it's hard to watch sometimes, especially if you do really love where you're at,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you know what? We were all arm wrestling before there was PAL.
Yeah.
Hell, I quit 3 times. All right, I've come back 3 times. All right, I think I saw the NAL rise and die 3 times.
Right.
So they'll work it out. I'm not worried about that. I think there will be a professional arm wrestling league always.
Right.
Now, I don't think it needs to be in the Olympics. I'm not so sure this ballroom versus barroom was the right argument. I mean, I got into the sport because it was in bar rooms, because it was that kind of nitty-gritty underground, it was street racing versus NRA, drag racing, that kind of stuff. Yep. But at the end, this is what we've talked about, because I'm probably got a year or 2 left, competitive tournament pulling. But you know what? You could probably put some money together. There's always going to be tournaments, and just form your own, like you could form your own John Brown Arm Wrestling League, where you just go to tournaments with your own money and just bet super matches.
Right.
Say, call the tournament directors, hey, I got $500 right and left. Set me up a match. You negotiate that ahead of time, and then you negotiate the odds, because chances are nobody's going to want to pull you if they think there's a chance of losing to you, right? But you say, all right, whoever you got, if you're the favorite, ask for odds. Say, I'm coming to you. I'm putting up $500. Have them put up $200, Mm-hmm. And I kind of been thinking about doing something like that if the WL goes away. Just go on a United States tour or something, I'd grab my own money, because there's a lot of people in weight classes above me I'd like to pull, but I don't want to join their weight class, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So I would say, look, I'm traveling to you. Let's just pick somebody that's in a higher weight class that I probably Travis, I couldn't tell. Let's just say Tim Bresnan, or not Dave Chaffee, because we all know how that would end, or Stephen Green, or or Matt Mask, or somebody in another weight class, probably higher caliber than me, mm-hmm. right? But if I'm willing to pull him, I'd say, well, okay, I'm smaller than you are, I'm traveling to you are, I'm going to put up $500, you put up $700. Mm-hmm. That's not going to kill me, right? But it's, if I can get enough of those, and if I can win enough just to break even, which is what we all did for years,
sure.
But then you got, with YouTube and the video, you can almost make your own movie, story, whatever. And it keeps you active, and it keeps you going around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something different. Yeah. Like I was thinking about the way traditional sports, NFL, NBA, all these sports leagues operate, and how it's different from how something like the WAL operates, which is like you have regionals and you have finals. And then they're like the idea that there is no offseason in arm wrestling. Everybody says that, right? Well, what if there was? What if we had 25 or 26 or whatever athletes, and we had them in a bracket style like they do in NBA and NFL, and then every 2 weeks or every week, one of them pulls another one. And then the next week, it's a different match. And the next week is a different match. And then you end up having like a season. You know what I mean?
I think you should start that.
We're going to do that right after this show.
That's awesome.
That's our plan. I don't know what you're doing later, John, but I hope you have your notebook ready, because we're going to take care of that.
The JJ Arm Wrestling League Dynamite.
That's exactly right.
Trademark.
I want to talk about
trademarked.
John's favorite subject. I try to bring this up every week just to annoy him on purpose. And so Travis said when he was on the show that he thinks 70% of the top pullers use steroids, but only 5% of arm wrestlers in general. Do you think it is a issue that is significant, should be talked about, should be ignored? Is it something that bothers you, that you care about, or do you have no opinion on it, or what have you?
I think it should be discussed if you want to discuss it. I don't know if it's an issue. I pretty much agree with Travis on this. In most topics, Travis is a very thoughtful, cognizant, reasonable way of explaining his stuff. Now, if you ask Travis to pick who's going to win and anybody in my weight class, he's got a freaking blind spot and he goes nuts and crazy and he starts spouting non-shit and stuff. But generally, on topics like that, Travis is probably right. And I wouldn't doubt it. He's probably in tune to it more than that. Is it a big deal? Probably. But, I mean, the big deal is whether or not it's fair, right? Now it would be a bigger deal if the rules against steroids were different for different people or enforced for different people, or if the punishment was different for different people. But if it's applied equally, then that by definition would be fair. What's probably a bigger issue in arm wrestling is probably the reffing. And I'm not saying it's the quality of the refs or the refs themselves, but the reffing's just flat not consistent from match to match, tournament to tournament.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, in all honesty, I would if I was going to arm wrestle you, I would say, you know what? You get on the biggest freaking steroid cycle you can. You take everything Arson did when he went from 175 to 205 and everything Truman did from 200 to 285. You could have all of that in 6 months if the ref lets me jump go. Because if we both weigh 200 pounds and I jump go, I really don't care how you got to 200 pounds, all right? I would much rather have that advantage. I would much rather have them call 50% of your elbow fouls and 40% of my elbow fouls, all right? I would much rather have them start you perfectly straight or back every time and let me have straight or just a little, you know what I mean?
Right.
So if we're both now in super heavyweights, I don't have an opinion because that whole class has gotten phenomenally freaking strong.
Yeah.
I mean, the WAL has done one thing to the sport, and it has exploded the talent in the super heavyweight class. All the classes are better, but the super heavyweights are stronger, faster, meaner, leaner than anything I've ever seen. The days where a 200, 240-pound person is going to win 2 or 3 weight classes, I don't think you'll see that anymore. I do not think you'll see a 220-pound guy win in a super heavyweight national level class anymore. Mm-hmm. But I would let you, in my weight, if we weigh 195 pounds, I could care less if you are a freaking cyborg taking Terminator steroids with your freaking red laser freaking eyes and your "I'll be back" voice, as long as I get to go first, okay? I would much rather have biased reffing in my favor than biased chemicals in your body. You could show up with a freaking tail and hooves, but if you let me get a ref call once in a while, you know what? I'm going to get more money than you are. Is it a big deal? I don't know. You know what? I mean,
that's my thing. Like Josh says, he brings it up every time because it annoys me. The thing is, it's something that, listen, I can't control. People cheat in everything. So, I mean, it's just, you can't control it. The only thing I can control is me. Does there need to be a discussion? Of course. But it's actually interesting what you said about the rules, because Travis actually said the exact opposite of what you just said, which he said he's never lost a match because of a foul. Because of somebody else's foul.
And Travis never tells a lie, and he's absolutely never wrong. So I retract everything I said because Travis disagreed with it.
Would you like? Would you put?
My opinion, I must have been mistaken. That's all I can say.
Cut.
Can we? Is there a rewind button?
No.
Nope. Just go back about 2 minutes and just start over again. So, do you think like putting cameras by the elbow pads and having like a light or a sound to start matches is the way to go?
If you're going to start your arm wrestling league, you should be able to set the rules the way you want. Yep. The only thing that I really, really want is if you're going to change the rules, I find out about it before I'm on the freaking airplane to your tournament. If you're going to change the geometry of the table, I should find out about it when everybody else did. Right. If all the competitors are equal, we should all be the same equal, not some competitors knowing ahead of others. But if it's your league, it's your rules, you do what you want with it. Now, as long as it's consistent, okay? You want to throw the cameras on there. If you're going to enforce perfect freaking rules, as long as it's done consistently, I don't care. Would having cameras, lasers, pressure sensitive, freaking cyborg, freaking refs and stuff that never make a freaking mistake enforcing it change who's going to win the tournament? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But eventually, you will develop a champion in that style.
Right.
Okay. Then then you go to underground where it's dirty, gritty, you negotiate the grip and you grind out. Is somebody else going to win that? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. But you get the choice and you compete where it's just as long as it's consistent. As long as you don't think you're getting screwed over when ref A's on your table versus ref B, you'll change your styles. You do that kind of stuff, right? When I'm overseas pulling those tournaments, that elbow pad's hard as a rock.
Yeah. And
there's a camera. So you know what? To not elbow foul, and I'm an elbow foul producing mother.
Effort.
Mother, you know what I mean? I mean, I collect elbow fouls like postcards when I'm overseas. I don't get so many over here because the pads are more. But But I don't complain about it. I don't, But you got to know. Right. As long as it's the same for everybody, because they pull differently over there because the rules are different. Better or not better. I mean, I don't know. I flat don't know. I don't study the sport that much, and I don't.
Well, it's interesting. The more of you guys that we ask this kind of question to a lot of people, and a lot of people at your level basically say, I don't care, just tell me what they are and we'll pull. I mean, Devin basically said the same thing. He could care less what the rules are as long as he knows them in advance, just like you did.
Oh, he did. And he didn't have any ideas of changing anything?
No, his only idea of changing stuff was his straps.
Changing any straps.
That was it.
He already
changed the straps.
On changing any rules or any table geometry. Him and Travis had absolutely no input whatsoever on any arm wrestling regulation.
No.
Then I take back what I stated. You know what? We're all perfectly
It's becoming a pattern. It's becoming a pattern. All right, we got some more questions coming in online here, man. We got one from Oklahoma and one from Moscow. Which one do you want first?
Oklahoma and Moscow?
That's right. Very closely.
Moscow.
All right.
Is it breakfast or it's tomorrow? So let's get them done.
I can't read his name because it's in Cyrillic, but he wants to know if you're planning to come back over there and compete against Europeans in the near future.
Not at the A1. They owe me money. I love Russia. Dude, I got to tell you, all you folks that haven't ever been, even if you're no good, you really find an overseas tournament, go there. The Nemiroff, I mean, not if you're under contract. If you're under WAL contract, do not go. Honor your contract, America first, USA. But if you get the chance, go and pull a PAL event, go to Russia, go over there. They treat you so nice. I mean, arm wrestling's corrupt. Sometimes it's corrupt in your favor, sometimes it's corrupt not. If you're an American, you're over there, you're going to get the benefit more often than not. They're so polite. They carry you around. Go over there. I would love to go back over there. I've been over there plenty of times. I'm not going back, unless, first I'm under contract. So that's, I don't want to lose that kind of and stuff because Prudnik's so big and now Zoloft weighs 200 pounds and I'm scared, So all that's happening, because I'm scared.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I love going over there, all right? I love the food. You might not know this, but I drink beer every once in a while.
What?
I had no idea.
Over there.
Stop.
All right? But the bathrooms are tiny and they drive like maniacs. My God. I don't understand how gas can cost $9 a gallon, but a taxi ride costs $1, right? And the taxi, more often than that, you crawl into some Mercedes and some guy's driving down the freaking sidewalk, honking the horn, scaring ladies off their burrow. There's bread, cans flying everywhere.
That does sound fun.
It's like, dude, I just wanted a pizza. That was not an emergency, But I love going over there. Now, the first 2 years and stuff, I was scared and that kind of stuff, and I was there because I'm xenophobic, and I love America, and I was scared about the foreigners and stuff. But I love the foreigners. I love pulling over there. They're so nice. They're so enthusiastic. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because some of the.
So you don't fit in there at all, then. I said, so you don't fit in there at all, then.
No, but it's weird because it's so different there. The audiences at the WAL events, and some of those folks are paid to be there, are like a third of what they are to A1.
Right.
All right. They will fill a stadium at like 2 or 3. Well, it's Russian money, but it's like 2 or 3 paper dollar bills, like rubles or whatever the hell it is. They will fill that stadium for a tournament, right? And the seats aren't even comfortable, right? Don and John and Dave don't even show up into the ring to pull because it's so uncomfortable sitting in the bleachers. They hate being there, But they'll fill it. They'll be there all day long. They'll sell concessions and T-shirts. It's like going to a motocross event here. I mean, people pay. They watch it. It's bizarre. It's worth going. I recommend everybody go. I'd love to go back, but I'm scared of all those people.
Right. Because
I've got 3 hammers and 5 fingers, so I'm not going to miss my chance.
All right, Oklahoma's getting their chance now. Soren wants you to tell him, please, when his serious bicep tendon pain is going to stop. He is 50 years old and is just starting to pull.
I turned 50 Saturday. My biceps still hurt.
Oh, well, there you go.
And I drink take a lot of over-the-counter drugs.
There you go, Soren. There's the secret.
If your arm hurts here, you're doing it correctly. If your arm hurts here or here, you're doing it correctly. If your arm hurts someplace else, maybe your wife's at night with you or something. I don't know. But it should hurt all the time. I mean, yeah. I'm always in pain.
Yeah, welcome to arm wrestling, buddy.
Exactly. Give up throwing anything. You can't even throw up anymore without going, my arm.
I really hope that I never get arrested because I don't think I can put my hand behind my back anymore.
Well, don't get arrested before you get famous. Yeah. Because if you're famous, it's not so bad until the cops go, hey, everybody, this guy's famous. Not that I've ever been arrested. I have not. Steve Kaplan, I've never been arrested. No problem. Don't look into it.
No. Don't worry about it. No, no problem. Not a problem.
So, all right. How about this upcoming vendetta? You got any predictions like Zola versus Chandler, for example?
Ooh. Wow. Chandler.
You're probably one of the few people who's pulled both of them. Actually, have you pulled Kazi Zola?
I pulled Chandler in practice, and I pulled him in competition. In competition, he smoked me. Zolev, I beat him when it counted, and I lost to him when I really, really, really did not want to lose to him. But I pulled mini Zolev. I did not. I mean, I pulled bite-sized Zolev. I didn't pull
200 pounds Zolev.
And when Truman went from fun size to full bar size,
Yeah.
Yeah, the Russians asked me to make a video making a prediction on that Michael Todd Truman thing. I didn't realize that, Truman had like ate his former self.
Right.
So I was like, wow, when did Truman get cancer and like triple in size? Because we don't have TV and we got internet from like 7:30 to 9:30 here. It's like, wow. Oh, man.
Just say it.
I suck at this. Because you know what I normally do? Had you told me you're going to ask me this, I would have called back to Utah and asked Bob Brown, and then I would have given you his opinion and pretended it was my own. Okay? So now I'm trying to think of what Bob Brown's going to tell you, because that's what I would have said anyways.
Just bring out your inner Travis,
I will. I'll tell you what. Who are you bet? I will take Zoloft for $5 on both of you.
Ooh.
That's actually what I think is going to win. I think it's a tough position for Chris because he's going to be bigger. So if he wins, people are like, yeah, he's bigger. But if he loses, it's going to be to a smaller guy. So I think he's
Yeah. It's like when they set Cataract up against Zoloft.
Yeah.
Exactly. But, and I've never beat Chris Chandler. And I pulled him in tournaments multiple times.
Yeah.
Okay. And
it's a beast.
And I beat Zoloft. All right. So it's not like it benefits me to pick him over that.
Sure.
But I just think that at 200 pounds, right? And Chandler's, I mean, he's still in the 230-ish range, right? I mean, I'm not going to see like a 325 Chandler or something because I would definitely bet on Optimus Chandler. All right, I am not. Okay, I'm not saying normal Chandler versus Optimus Chandler. If he comes in at like 240 and Zoloft comes in at the 200-pound range.
That'll be different.
These freaking super matches, they're usually a blowout anyways. But
yeah, I think that one's gonna be the closest one, to be honest with you.
That's the one I keep asking about because most people have been saying Trubin's gonna go 6-0 on Pushkar. The Simplinkoff, Michael Todd, people are going both ways in that. I think a lot of folks in the States think that Michael Todd's technique is going to be really tough for Simplinkoff, so they're giving him the nod there. And then Dmitry Siliev and Tim Breslin. I don't think enough people over here really know Siliev that well, but Michael Todd was saying he's incredibly strong, and that he thinks Tim's going to have a hard time with him.
I love Americans, all right, but in more cases than not, the freaking Americans are coaching against me at tournaments anyway. So you know what? It's not Michael Todd. Michael Todd's a stand-up guy. I will never ever bet against Michael Todd. That I flat won't do.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against Michael anyway, just because that guy talk about not wanting to lose.
No, I won't bet against Michael Todd. He'll do it.
I think if you
it's a personal thing against me and Chandler. I just think that that country just has a freaking wrestling. I mean, these little dudes blow up into giant dudes, and then they go someplace. I don't think Dennis Simplinkoff. Man, I don't think I'm betting against him unless it's with Dave Chaffee. I'll take Chaffee over Simplinkoff. But I don't think I would take anybody else over Simplinkoff. I mean, even Trubin's a bad dude. He might be the baddest dude on the planet, but he's still this bouncy little bright-eyed freaking fawn that Travis and Devin all try to be, right? But Chaffee and Simplinkoff, I mean, they're freaking trolls, right? I mean, it's when a warthog goes up against a freaking deer. I'm gonna bet on the warthog. Even if the deer has a gun, the warthogs are just tough.
Yeah, and it's hard to even say anything about the Dennis and Michael Todd because nobody's seen Dennis pull for quite a while, right?
Year. Yeah, more than a year.
Oh, that's true. He's probably got small, found Jesus, and became vegetarian.
I mean,
no, that's Voveda.
Or Or nobody's seen him because they haven't invented a television big enough to show how huge he is right now.
Yeah,
that's probably the latter.
They might have seen him, and they were just thinking it was an eclipse as he walked by.
Yeah. You just see the water glass shake.
Yeah.
And a big eye come through.
I'll be honest. My opinion on that stuff is really worthless because I pulled all those guys. First, I'm undefeated against Michael Todd. Research it. But I pulled Pushkar, I pulled Simplinkoff, and I pulled Chaffee. And I cannot measure the difference between all of them because it's like, it's 1,000 horsepower, 1,200 horsepower, or 1,400 horsepower when I'm in a freaking Prius. You know what I'm saying? I got no clue how to judge those guys.
Your opinions may be worthless, but at least they're entertaining. You guys should start a comedy show whenever you retire from arm wrestling, I think. I think the two of you guys would be pretty awesome at that.
Maybe you can produce it.
I can
produce it, sure.
Yeah, why not?
We'll just wind you up and let you go. It seems to be the best strategy.
Dynamite!
Well, we got to come up with a different. That one's taken already.
That's your bossy. I'm out.
Any more questions, Josh, or what?
Well, I'm sure I could keep you on the line for another hour if you want.
So let's bitch about a few things.
Please.
Let's bitch about some stuff.
Arm wrestling leagues, for freaking crying out loud. We've had like 1,000 of them in our lifetimes. Could you ever freaking fix the weigh-in process? My God, why are super heavyweights waiting in line to weigh in when there's all these people that have cut like 40 freaking pounds? Why do I gotta line up and stand where I gotta fill out this paper and get a freaking picture and get a freaking t-shirt? You know what I'm saying? They should open up the freaking scales. I walk in, I weigh in, write my weight on my hand, stamp it so I can't forge it, and then let me go come back later and do all that crap. Yeah. The weigh-in is a freaking bottleneck at every tournament. It never gets better, and we're in the country that has Disneyland. If anybody knows how to manage crowds and lines, it should be us. We suck at weigh-ins. Please fix that.
And the thing that always bothered me about weigh-ins with big tournaments is one scale.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good place to start, I think, is having more than one scale.
Something.
And then they all have to be calibrated exactly the same and all that crap.
Well, no, the early WALs had multiple scales, but yeah, you would try all of them. But
yeah.
It doesn't take your full staff to manage the freaking scale. Even if it's a scale, and if it's just some dude sitting there or two people to certify or something, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it should be a lot, because weigh-ins will start at 10, people line up at 8, and then I'm standing behind people that don't have to freaking weigh in anyways, and, I'm not the most enjoyable person to be around anyways. I'm not always like this. Sometimes I've got issues.
I'm sure they all are exacerbated when you're down 30 pounds and you're trying to weigh in. Did you hear what they're doing at the Olympics now for weigh-ins? They weigh you in a week in advance, and you have to be within a certain percentage of the weight you're going to be in the tournament. Then they weigh you in, a day before the tournament, and then they weigh you again the day of the tournament. And if you've gained more than 2% of your body weight back, you can't compete. It's
3 weigh-ins. That's awesome.
But it's designed to stop people from cutting a lot of weight.
A 12-hour tournament and now takes 8 days because you got to weigh in 3 times.
That's way more. That's way more weighing in.
Yeah, it's 3. It's basically designed to stop people from cutting 20, 30 pounds and instead forcing them to cut like 10. So people have to change weight classes.
From the UN or foreigners. That does not sound like the country that invented the Boss 429 Mustang or fostered Ted Nugent.
Yeah, we like to torture ourselves.
On that 3 weigh-in freaking stuff.
It is. It's the Olympics, so you're definitely right. It's a bunch of countries.
You don't even have wrestling in the Olympics. Why do we? Why does anybody even watch that anymore?
Well, every 4 years they do.
Well, you could just do away with weight classes altogether. Just have a giant round robin tournament like in the old days. Who cares about weight?
That, you know what? But see, if you did that, it would change stuff.
But if you had like 100 matches, right? So then like the bigger guys, you would imagine their endurance is not going to be as good. The smaller guys have better endurance. Maybe over time we could wear them out. John Brown and I train so much on the table. We always feel like if we had 100-match super match with somebody, eventually we'd beat everybody.
And that might work. I mean, it would change it, but I mean, that's no more illegitimate than what we currently have with 4 or 5 or whatever. You know, I mean, you can. They change these combat sports all the time, and it probably produces different results. But I mean, that's just as legitimate as anything else. I don't mind the weight classes. I just don't like the bureaucracy of it.
Yeah.
Let me go in, weigh in. I will come back in 3 or 4 hours. You can take as many pictures as you want. You can ask the same old questions you always want. I will give you the 12th 1099 form I filled out this year. You know,
I'll probably.
It's not like I shouldn't be able to do all this crap online ahead of time. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I could order a Russian bride. I wouldn't because I still have my first wife. But I could buy my wife a Russian bride online, and it takes less effort than it does to weigh into a tournament where I'm going to win no money, but a piece of paper that says I am qualified to go to regionals. And why do I got to go to regionals when I'm already a champion? What's up with that? I would think if I currently have a freaking hammer, I should just be able to go to the championships, you know? But I got to start at the qualifier level anyway. Actually, maybe I don't mind that so much because there's money involved, but still, it should probably be a choice.
Right.
Maybe.
You know, maybe having a couple Russian brides, they could help you do the paperwork. That might be something worth considering. I don't know.
No.
Think about that for next time.
Hey, I'm not in Utah anymore. 1 Russian bride.
Okay, just one. Oh, yeah, that's fine. We can work with that.
Fair.
All right, so I know you don't like predicting other people. What about you? Who do you think is going to be your toughest opponent, right and left-handed, in the finals?
Well, that tall, goofy Nanastad, I think I can beat him. Frode from Norway struggles with him. You see, I didn't know this question was coming. So what you're seeing right now is the gerbils and stuff inside my head. I can
see the smoke. I see the smoke
while I'm working it out.
This is thinking, everybody.
Here's the deal. You're all expecting me to think I'm going to have trouble with Storm left and RVJ right. But I am not going to lose to RVJ the same way I did the last 3 times. So I'm going to lose to him in a completely new way, and Storm's going to try and do something freaky and stuff. But neither one of those guys are going to get phenomenally stronger since the last time I pulled them. So I plan to go through the lower ranks and, first, tournament should always be seeded. Randomly seeded a bracket is asinine. I don't know if we were still talking about stuff we're going to complain about, but just stick that back earlier, then I'll come back to your question. Yes, seed the freaking brackets. There's been enough tournaments. Everybody knows who the top 4 or 5 people are in every freaking bracket. But
totally agree.
I plan to Todd Roll all the way up until I meet the top 4 folks in my class, either in qualifiers and tournament and stuff. And then we're going to see if their hands are as good as my arm, because I'm just going to freaking unleash the freaking demons and go, boom! You know, and then we'll just say, hold on if you want, but, you know. We're going to see whose tolerance for pain is higher. That's what we're going to do, because I'm willing to freaking, I will lose my bicep again, because I want to double up twice before anybody else wins 2 hammers. And I think with John out of it, Devin or Marcio got a chance on winning 2 hammers. I don't know who else is in danger of winning 2 hammers. I don't think anybody in my class. I think I'm the only person in my class that can win 2 hammers this year. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm biased, you know.
Yeah, of course, you should be.
There's like 5 people who love Toddzilla in my weight class, right? And I'm related to 5 of them. But other than that, in the other weight classes, Devin or Marcio, one of those 2 guys, I don't think there's a super heavyweight that can win both sides. I mean, Travis says, yeah, I'm so close to Dave, but you know what? Dave knows that.
Yeah.
And the 165 guys, that's a tough class to win.
Yeah.
Because there's so many good people, and it's like a snow globe, yeah, and you never know how that's going to settle out. I'm sorry, that wasn't even your question.
That's all right. It was fun. I enjoyed watching
matter.
it. I don't even remember what my question was anyway, so who cares?
That's how this show always goes. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Here's another question from online. Scott L. wants to know, what are your thoughts on statics? Static holds.
I love them, but I do not do them on my primary workout times. I do them in the evening, and I specifically do them on things I'm weak at. For instance, you might have heard that my top roll is fairly slow or not quite there. So I do statics on the top roll, and I because it allows you to, if you're any kind of student of the Louis Simmons Westside Barbell system, you believe that the isometrics work plus or minus like 8 degrees. So I'm allowed to set up neutral, and this is what I think is neutral. That's why the refs love me, because I never, ever complain to a ref. So I go, boop, and then I can hold that. So I love isometrics. Then the next question is, how much weight, how much time? I don't freaking know. Okay, I just try what I want. I think it takes about 30 or 40 seconds, to get a grip. Now, if Solaris is going to qualify both hands, then I would do isometrics for like 9 freaking minutes, But if everybody was me, I need a 2-second isometric hold, because we'd just go up there and we'd be gentlemen about it. I'm not saying everybody else in my weight class isn't a gentleman, but nobody else in my weight class is a gentleman. Oh, I love isometrics, but you do them at the end of your practice, do them in the evenings, not during your primary workout. And those are suggestions, not rules, not laws. I mean, because I really don't know. I mean, if this WAL takes off and I get to start an arm wrestling training camp, I'm going to call Chad Silvers, call Bob Brown, bring all these crews back together. We get to do some experiments, that kind of stuff. Then I'll know for a fact. But right now, I kind of do what I think feels right. But I do it. I do every training exercise that's ever been mentioned, because I don't know what works and what doesn't, so I do it all.
Yeah.
If you're going to go to a buffet, you don't know what the best part is, so you eat everything.
Yep. And I've always thought, like, you basically take 100% of what everybody tells you, and you end up throwing out a good 60% of it, just because it doesn't work for your body type, or your weaknesses are different than theirs, whatever. And really, as long as you're consistent and you keep trying new things and keep kind of getting rid of the bad stuff and be honest, which is really tough for an athlete to do themselves, is be honest with themselves. Like, this is my weakness. I don't feel good there, but I got to do it. As long as you're consistent, usually, you're going to get better as long as you're trying really hard and you're consistent.
Keep tracking of your max effort days. If they're not going up, change something.
Yeah.
I normally change volume and isometrics. I do not change my max effort days or my speed day, which is what Louis Simmons flat out says, conjugate, dynamic. Now, I got 2 conjugate days and 1 dynamic day, but that leaves me 4 days to do everything else. And I do volume, I do isometric, I do all that other stuff on the other days in order to boost up the max effort days are the key.
So that's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up, man. You convinced me already just listening to you, because we were just having a conversation about the Westfield Barbell before you came on, and several people have mentioned it to me. It sounds awesome. And this gentleman from Egypt, Miriam Mahmoud, just said thank you for the top roll advice.
Todd Roll.
Allison.
It's very slow.
Yeah, but the advice is good. Good advice. It might make other people do it fast, even if you're slow. What's it like, Allison, traveling around with Todd everywhere? I mean, Todd's been talking a lot, but obviously you're a huge presence in arm wrestling too. Everybody knows you. Everybody talks to you. They send all of our questions for Todd through you. So you're like
the queen of social media.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is where we get divorced? Is that what happened?
I hope not. Well, if the Russian bride talk didn't do it, this isn't going to do it, Todd.
Yeah. So seriously, we got nothing to worry about.
I was giving her the Russian bride to keep her. That should have been mail order, Bride. I got nothing against Russians.
No.
Mail order.
You love them.
It could be from any country, yes. So anything to add, Allison?
I love traveling around with Todd. I love going to all of his tournaments. I love going to the practices. A lot of times I'm the only wife at the practice, but I like watching him practice. I'm interested in it. I can't arm wrestle myself, but I know a lot about arm wrestling. I like going to the practices. I love being able to travel with him. I've gotten to go to so many places because of arm wrestling, just completely off the beaten path. Whoever has even heard of Stars Segura, Bulgaria, or some of that Wrocław in Poland and Warsaw. Obviously I've heard of Warsaw, but all these different places. I can't even pronounce it. Vladislav.
That was good.
Yeah, in Russia. But the most important, the neatest thing is being able to meet all the people and to be able to connect with all these different people. I've got people that I feel like are really, truly good friends. I've got like 3 basal friends in Russia, and a lot of people in Poland and people that I keep in regular contact with, just through arm wrestling, that I feel are like lifelong friends. It's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, I've seen you post lots of pictures with arm wrestlers all over the world. It's clear you have a real love of the sport, and I always enjoy watching your interactions on Facebook and such. And sometimes people will give Todd a little crap, and I always think you're very savvy in responding to it. Yes, believe it or not, Todd, not everybody loves you. I know it's probably impossible to comprehend, but she always does a good job sticking up for you. So.
True. I kind of like them.
I personally enjoy the training videos with the music choices that you pick out.
Hey, grew up in the 80s,
Yeah. I'm always
Heavy metal will come back.
I'm always like, Pantera. It's Pantera.
That's Pantera.
Somebody else
It's
listens to
Pantera.
that while they've trained too. As you can tell,
Have
me
you
and
ever,
Josh are both metal fans from the intro of the song. The intro song. You can probably tell.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good stuff, man. Have you ever met Philippe Ritz, Todd? He's a younger kid who's just coming up. He's from overseas. He moved over here to the States just to train arm wrestling. His name's Philippe. I don't know if you met him or not. He's a good kid. He's really tough. He sets a question here, but he also wants you to know that in 2 years he's going to be your #1 competition.
Oh, probably, Hell, Travis has 15 people lined up to beat me. He's been rooting against me for 15 freaking years. What weight class is Philippe in?
Philippe is around, he's usually go around 170, 180, but he's a teenager.
He's going to be a competition to me in 2 years?
He's a teenager, so he's planning on putting on a long weight.
3 years, and they shoot right by me in weight class. I'm not even going to be here in 2 years, for crying out loud.
I did mention to him that you said you're going to retire in 2 years, so it might be too late.
Hell,
Have you ever...
He can come to Ohio in 4 weeks, and I will be here, right here.
He asked me about, when you're feeling extra sore from side pressure, are there certain activities that you will do to help relieve it?
Did this guy seriously just tell me he's going to beat me and then ask me for advice on how to beat me?
Yeah, he did both those things.
Yeah,
specifically.
He's like the Alex Trebek of wherever he's from, right?
What is side pressure?
Okay, I'm sorry. I was talking over you because I was thinking about what I was going to say next. You're going to have to repeat what your question was. Or some shit. I don't know. My arms always hurt. All right.
Do you do things specifically to rehab them? Do you do like
Yes.
light blood flow activities, that kind of stuff?
Yes. And if this guy, if he watched any of Allie's videos, he would see I have hours and hours of rehab work during my week. Saturday and Sunday are specifically hour-long workouts just for rehab, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings are all rehab workouts. So I do a lot of rehab.
Oh, that's fascinating, man. So that makes a lot of sense. You train hard, you train a little bit every day, but most people are including at least 1 or 2 days where they do some rehab work. So you do quite a bit of it.
Oh, I do. Whatever that is, 5 days of rehab, 5 rehab workouts a week.
That's awesome.
But a lot of that, though, it's rehab, but it's volume, because a freaking tournament, it's still 6 matches, but it's over freaking 12 hours. You know what I, you know?
Yeah.
So you got to keep that going that long, you know, because when I'm at a tournament, well, I mean, I know there's discussions on whether you warm up or not. I believe in warming up, right? So if I got to pull 6 matches over 12 hours, right, I'm warming up every 4 hours. Well, it takes a lot of endurance and work capacity to go through that whole warm up exercise, because if I pull at 10 o'clock and then at 2 o'clock, so I warm up at 10, then I cool down, I warm back up at 2 for whatever it is, quarterfinals or speeches or whatever it is. Then at 4 o'clock, they run a match for, you know, popcorn frame or whatever. I mean, then I got to come back later at 6, and the next day at 8, you know, I've probably warmed up 7 or 8 times for a freaking tournament, you know, because I don't like going up cold, right? Because being a rage puller, you know, my body kind of, like, I'm mad. Even my body don't like me. When I go up to the tournament, I unite the crowd. The whole crowd moves to the other side of the table because everybody wants that dude to win. And that dude is whoever Travis says was going to beat me. All right? I probably have the record of the most wins when Travis is on the microphone and actually calls the other guy the winner just to see if it will take. You know? It happens all the time. And I've loved the guy for so long, but he's such a douche to me. I cannot tell you. I mean,
That's
only
awesome.
now that I'm mature can I get past it. But I used to
sounds like
personally. You know?
Yeah.
That ass.
Yeah, Travis has that effect on quite a few people, man. I always tell him he's one of those guys, you know, I just always, like I said earlier, he's like a, you know, circus guy, you know, so I don't take everything he says that seriously, because I feel like he's always just trying to get a rise out of you, you know?
Well, it worked.
Successfully. He's very good at it. He's very successful at it. God forbid he ever runs for president. He'll be the next president, you know? Well, we've kept you guys on 90 minutes. So, I mean, it's been awesome, but I'm sure you guys have things you want to do besides talk to us idiots all night.
Actually, you can end this show and I can talk to you. I've got to send Allie to get more beer, but I wanted to talk to you the rest of the night.
Well, we'll definitely have you on after finals and get your thoughts on that and whatever else.
Because I'll have.
You can bring your hammers.
I'll have.
Oh,
God. And Travis will be over there with his left hand going, well, I won one too.
Yeah. He actually specifically mentioned you because he doesn't want you to win any more hammers because you have more than him.
Yeah. What are the odds of him winning 2 and me winning 0?
Not
He's
good.
got a blind spot when it comes. He's like an ex-wife to me. You know what I mean? I mean, he's like, just like constantly just.
Well, best of luck to you. It seems like you are awfully ready, at least mentally. But it's been a lot of fun talking to you guys. I really appreciate you coming on.
Hey, B and Allie, we appreciate it a lot. Good luck with your show. Anytime you want, anything we can do to help, always ready.
All right, man.
Thank you guys very much. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.